Welcome back, guys, and again we're comparing what Ernest Norman channeled in the 1950s in this Voice of Venus and the rest of the Pulse of Creation series with what Dolores Cannon had channeled for her throughout her career, and especially in this Between Death and Life. Again, remember that Norman was being spoken through and spoken to as his wife recorded everything that was said. Page 55, Chapter 7. The goodness of the evening to you, brother, and as you seem a little surprised to find yourself back sitting beside the lake where we left off this morning, may I say that I took the liberty to set you back in this same spot after receiving the impulses from your mind. I believe we were discussing matters pertaining to the emergence, or shall I use the word birth, into our planetary way of life. There are also other aspects which relate to the absorption of radiant energies into our bodies, which replace your familiar intestinal tract. Of course, by now you will have begun to cast about you, and have found many heretofore seemingly unnoticed examples, which are in every sense just as miraculous. Each tiny leaf and blade of grass carries on this radiant energy process. Your own bodies, using the lower orders of intestinal absorption, could not do so without the direct interpolation of this intelligent radiant energy. And while all of these things have been almost unnoticed, nonetheless, each and everything about you and within you carries its own message of its conception from the infinite fountainhead. But come, let us walk toward the mountain which you see in the distance, and do not be surprised if your walking has lost the laborious physical effort, or that you seem to float. As you are somewhat used to astral flights, however, I do not feel you will find any great difficulty in adjusting yourself. While we are progressing toward the city, may I say that you will quite likely see things which may stretch to the utmost your powers of conception. All things on Venus, including the substructures which compose the planet itself, as I have said, in their own spectra, have a relationship to the source or fountainhead, which is much closer, or shall I say in a higher stage of evolution. Therefore, those elemental substances, as you will see, will reflect, in consequence, an outward expression which has a great deal more perfection and beauty. On your Earth, you have similar examples of this evolution. The soft black carbon in a higher state becomes the sparkling diamond. Likewise, many of the darkened masses of metal may enter, in an oxide form, into some other siliceous material, and give to it the radiant hue of the ruby, or the blue cool depths of the aquamarine. In fact, your gems are direct transmutations of these lower orders of elemental substances into a higher frequency expression. The earth chemist has, in this last age, learned to tremendously alter things by the rearrangement of molecular structures, and while he must use tremendous quantities of caloric energy, he will no doubt someday find a much easier and less costly way to not only change molecular structures, but he may actually find a way to alter the frequency relationship of the substructures themselves. But see, now we are approaching one of our fairest and largest cities, and as I have said previously, it does seem to hang suspended between earth and sky, but you will soon discover that it is actually resting on the top of a huge mountainous mass of what might be called perfect crystal. In your normal relationship, that is, If you are actually living on this planet, you would see that this crystal mountain was actually reflecting all of the colors of the rainbow from the many facets or prisms which go to make up this huge mass. However, as you are not properly attuned to all of the spectra or light radiant sources, you will see this simply as a mountain of clear, transparent, sparkling crystal. But come, here is the pathway. Yes, I see you are wondering how such a small pathway could serve such a large city, and, as you have correctly surmised, there are many thousands of people living in what looks to you like some creation which you may have seen painted for you and shown in one of the darkened halls you call movie theaters. Transportation in these higher Venusian realms is not, as you might suppose, a problem which is solved by the use of various types of vehicles. We have no need for them, as we all travel freely about in the inner plane of consciousness. In other words, in something in a more highly evolved state than what you call astral flight. Your holy men, including the Avatar Christ, as well as many hundreds of adepts, traveled about the earth in the same manner. This is, however, almost a forgotten science among your earth people of today, and only some of your seekers of truth know the history of past ages in which this form of travel was commonly used by these advanced souls. Now that we have reached what appears to be the main thoroughfare of our city, you will notice that it is built upon a flat plain, which is the actual top of this crystal mountain. For convenience, if you wish, we will call this city Azure. There are, of course, many other cities which are built upon much similar masses of more highly evolved atomic structures, which can be called mountains. In the lower orders of evolution, the people of this planet have built their cities upon the flat plains or valleys in more suitable places which have relationship to streams of water, which some of these people still seem to think is necessary for the existence of such cities. If you are a bit puzzled by this, it is because some of these lower orders of evolution which have evolved onto this planet still carry with them the strong remembrances and associations of lower earth lives, in which eating and drinking and other things which they used to do have not been entirely eliminated through the lapse of sufficient numbers of incarnations. Venus is, roughly speaking, a place where a person loses the last vestiges and remnants of those earth life thought patterns, and, as I have said, he will evolve through many incarnations to and from this planet until he emerges a full-fledged spiritual being. When I speak of earth lives, I am not necessarily referring to your earth, as there are countless numbers of such planets, not only in this universe, but in the countless universes throughout what your astronomer calls space. All of these planets, of course, have their sister planets, which have a higher place in their order of evolution, just as in the case of your Earth and Venus. However, I see that you are somewhat perplexed as you look about you, for you are wondering how you may best describe all of these things which you see about you. One thing more, however, I have purposely made it impossible for you to see my people until a little later on. This will avoid confusion and complication. They will also not be able to see you, nor will you suffer any embarrassment in case you accidentally meet someone, as you will pass right through them, or they may pass through you. This can be done, of course, because you are in a different frequency vibration. A little later on, when your curiosity is somewhat satisfied, we will change this situation so that you will be able to see and talk to some of my brothers and sisters. However, as I said before, I am using the utmost caution and discretion, for I do not wish to disturb or shock the earth minds who may read your words. Not that we are not pleasing as to appearance. I believe you will find us so, and not too much different from the reflection you see in your own mirror. except that you may be able to see much more clearly the auric colors which surround our bodies. As we are in a higher frequency rate, we are therefore, can I say, much more dynamic, so much more so that we may appear to radiate light. However, let us enter one of the larger homes here, which is standing close by. As you will see, they are all of tremendous size, and even though we are on an average, but slightly taller than the Earthman, yet we would find that the small cubicles which he calls homes would be to us extremely cramped and confined. You will also notice that the materials used in these buildings all seem to be of some transparent material. Actually, this is not so. I have purposely lowered your rate of optic perception so that you will not be blinded by the dazzling brilliance and radiance which is reflected from all of the buildings and streets which compose this city, just as in the mountain upon which it stands. However, you will be able to see enough of the brilliance and color so that an adequate description can be written. In one of my previous discussions, I spoke of rainfall. However, rain falls only in the lower planes. We do not from necessity construct our buildings with the thought of protection from disturbance of the elements. Rather, our buildings are constructed not with machinery or tools, but with the creative energies from our minds. These homes and buildings, therefore, represent our first major efforts in the constructive use of energies. The Earthman paints upon canvas the pastoral beauty of that which is about him. The sculptor may carve from stone that which he sees in his mind's eye. Likewise, the bricklayer or mason is an artist in his own fashion. We, here on Venus, are likewise artisans, but instead of using the brush or chisel, or the trowel and hammer, we use our tools, our own minds, and the creative desires which stem from them, combined with the radiant energies from the fountainhead, become all of the things which you see about you. Yes, all of these buildings, and all of the streets upon which they stand, even all of the things which are contained within, were created by mind, and not one finger was lifted in any construction. But come, my friend, I will leave you here in the Arboretum, where we will again meet in one of the future hours agreed upon by us. May our sleep be light and untroubled. Brother Malvar. In case any of you missed the first video of this series, I describe a couple of the circumstances surrounding how I found these books in 2001. These circumstances served as just a couple of the very personal confirmations of the validity of these channeled sessions, coming from a source very much in touch with our realities here.